Hello and welcome back to Stage 729. We want to thank everyone for following us on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram. If you don't know, the show is basically about information, influencing you, and also empowering everyone in our community. So we always want to keep that in mind when we're here at Stage 729. Now, today I have a special guest. Pastor Barry Robinson, which you all might know from a different community activities, or better yet, just an advocate for the community in general. So how are you?
I'm doing great, Michelle. It's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon.
Awesome. I'm glad you're here to join me with the stage and talk about a little bit what are some of the things that you've been doing lately? Because I know you have a new position lately. There's a new one.
Well, you know what? I've been blessed and honored. I've always wanted to be a public servant. It was always in the back of my mind, and I prayed to the good Lord to let me be in a position to help with this community because I love this community so greatly. I was born and raised here, as you know, and most recently I was elected to the Peoria County Board in November.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I was sworn in December, and I'm already hitting the ground running. I'm on 4 different subcommittees, and we're doing what we can to help work this county a little bit better and make it just a little more effective.
Oh, okay. Now I know you are on the county board.
Yes.
And what are some of the other things that you're doing? Because I know your church recently moved and located on Nebraska. So.
Yeah. You know, Michelle, I have never had so many titles in my entire life. But the one that I'm most proud of is servant of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Amen.
There is nothing more important to me than to be his servant. And I feel as though he's pleased with my life right now because I have tried to help make his community, I say his community,
right,
not my community.
Right.
Because actually, if you think about it, it's not really our community. It's
true.
his community. And I think that my job is to try to make his community look a tad bit more like he would like for it to look.
And you know what? We need a lot more people like that. I think if everyone did that and had that kind of thought process, we would do a lot more in our community right now than what's going on.
Exactly. Because we still have a great many challenges here in our community.
But what are some of the challenges that you think that we're facing here in Peoria?
Well, first and foremost, we have this blog staring us in the face that is saying that our community is the worst place in all of America to live if you're an African American. And that's of great concern to those of us who are African American and live here. I think the blog is flawed in its premise. I don't believe that this is the worst place in America to live if you're an African American, because I've seen much worse.
Right, right.
You know, I've lived on the west side of Chicago. I've lived in Los Angeles. I've been to Compton. I've been to New York. And there are areas there that make our community look like Beverly Hills. But the reality is that the parameters that they did use are some things that we're going to need to address. But one thing that we have to realize is that it took a while to get to the bottom of that list.
Right, right.
You can't fix it by Thursday. You have to take your time and hold on to one thing that you can do and say, you know what, we did accomplish this. Now let's go on and accomplish this. So we've got some things that we need to work on. Obviously, employment.
That's the top one. I think that's a big one in everyone's.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, we've also got to address home ownership. That was one of the parameters that they use, how small of an amount of home ownership that the African Americans actually have here as opposed to white Peorians, I should say.
Now, is that because of, now they always bring educational background into
Right.
the factor, but what about everyone's pay? I mean, you look at, can most people afford, and there's not many affordable housing. Housing for Illinois, or at least around this area for Peoria, probably is averaging what, 150,000 on the average?
That's correct. The interesting thing that was told to me last week that I went, wow, is there are 981 homes in Peoria that are now valued at $900,000 or better.
Oh, wow.
When we were growing up, Michelle, there were probably four. 4 to 5. So there are some people here who have money, but it's not usually African Americans
Right.
who are buying these kinds of houses.
But you won't see those down in 61605.
No, you won't see them in 61605
That won't
or
happen.
my baby, which is 61603. I
Yeah.
love both sides of it, and part of my district for county board goes from 61605 all the way down to 61603.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of territory.
It is, but I love it. I have a heart to serve. I spend a lot of time working with my dear friend Denise Moore.
Yes.
Her district for city and my district for county overlap a great deal.
Mm-hmm.
So a great deal of her end of town and my end of town
Right.
are the same.
So that's a partnership that you
Exactly.
can build off
So
of.
we talk almost daily in terms of the initiatives that we want to try to purport. And Denise is a doer. Denise is not just a talker. She's
Right.
one of those people who actually gets things done. And she doesn't just do meetings to set up another meeting. She's doing a meeting to try to see what she can actually accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And I admire that in her. I like to think that I'm somewhat the same.
Yeah.
I like to see things get done. I've been told that I need to put my name and my face out there a little more often, but see, that's just not me. I don't need that 15 minutes of fame.
Well, you'll
I
get
just
it right
like
now because we are putting his face out there and his name. So,
I just like to see things get done.
yeah.
You know, I work for, you asked me about my titles, and I told you there's a great many of them, but I still work for the Peoria Friendship House
Yes. Yeah.
as the job developer. And before that, I was the employment coach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that to say that my peace of mind and my joy comes when I get someone help in getting a job. I just like to help God's people. And when one of them gets a job, especially those who may have been through, who may have been second chance folks,
Right.
re-entry folks, been to the penitentiary, and they come and tell me, hey, Rev, man, I got a job and I ain't got to hustle no more. That fills my heart. And it's more important than the money they pay me.
Mm-hmm.
But don't get me wrong, I still want them to
Well,
pay me.
yeah, we still got to get paid, but we still got to get paid so we can serve. But
Exactly.
I do. I understand where you're coming from on that, because just to see someone accomplish something in their life and be
Right.
self-sufficient and
Right.
be able to move forward, not move backwards, but
Right.
move forward to getting stability in their life, that is something great that you want to
Yeah,
see.
when they've turned the corner on their life. Now, they've got to want to, though. You know, the old saying is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Right.
They've got to want to and be ready to make that turn.
And not all people are ready.
No,
'Cause
no.
sometimes they need a helping hand, and for those of us who have a platform or have that ability to help another, that's where we can come in as a community. There's enough of us
Right.
around here.
Exactly. But I love it. I love helping God's people, especially those, like I say, who have been through. I have a special heart for the ex-offenders. I spent some time on the Central Illinois Task Force for Reentry.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed my time there, and I think there's more that we can do. Do you know Michelle, what it costs to keep an individual locked up for a year in the state of Illinois?
It has to be running close to almost 30,000, almost like a salary.
Yeah, 45 to 48.
I knew it had to be a salary somewhere.
Now, the state is talking about how they have financial issues.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get someone out of an incarcerated situation where you're no longer paying $48,000 of tax money to house them, to feed them, to give them health care, and you get them back out and you can retrain them and give them a position where they're actually working and putting money into the tax system, how much better off we are.
Right.
If we just do the math, if it costs $48,000 to house Jamie or whatever you want to call him, and he gets out and now he's got a little job. He doesn't have to have the biggest job. He could be working at, I don't know, UPS. And if he's making $25,000, that's a $73,000 bonus to the state.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And we will reap the tax money off of that. And people have to realize two things. One, we have to give these folks a second chance.
Right.
Not everybody's going to make it, but we have to give them a second chance. First of all, we need to fix some issues on the state level. We've got a budget crisis that just seems to go on and on and on and on.
I don't think it has stopped. for the last, what, two
2 years.
2 years. It's
And
been
that's the
same.
craziest thing. And our credit rating goes down.
Oh, yeah.
And
I think
and
we're at F already. I don't know if there's a negative F in there in the making.
and that means that certain social services are one of the first to get cut.
Right, right.
So people are nervous if they're going to have their jobs. If they work at a social service agency, clients are concerned that the services won't be there, the resources won't be there to help them try to turn their life around or to stabilize their life. There's so much going on that has to be remedied on that level, but it trickles down. We work here on this local level.
Right.
And, that's where it's got to start. Back in the day, we focused on having the churches take the lead and be the stabilizers of the
And I
community.
still think the churches, I think that's a good foundation
And
right
yeah,
there.
it is. And we need to be. But we've got to get back to actually, being the church and
Right.
being effective in the community. My old pastor in Chicago used to tell me that church should not happen inside the four walls of the church. It should actually happen in the community.
That's true. Well, we're going to take a little quick break and do a little shout out. Excuse me. We want to thank WAZU 90.7 FM radio for having us here at the East Bluff Community Center. Anyone would like to pledge a donation or support the station, please do so by contacting the East Bluff Community Center. Thank you. All right. Now, since you talked about titles, I have a question. I was listening to the radio, WVEL, and they had a question on there. What do you call your pastor? So it made me think, because they came up with all kind of names. What do you call your pastor? Do you think there should be formality on what you call your pastor? And I know I'm bad at this, and I've been doing it for, I think he's been with us for almost 20 years. I want to say Pastor Hubbard. I call him Pastor Hub, which we know his full name is Pastor Devereaux R. Hubbard. And I've been calling him Pastor Hub for years, and I don't think I've ever stopped. Now, in a formal setting, I would go and say, this is my pastor of St. Paul Baptist Church, and give him the full name. But how do you feel? You're a pastor, reverend, bishop.
Right.
They have all these different names.
Everybody's got a different name, but I think the key word is servant of Christ.
That's true. That's
Okay?
first.
So
That's first.
remember, when Jesus walked the earth, all he did was serve others.
That's true.
Okay? Yeah, I don't know if he even called himself by any title other than just Jesus the Christ. But now I will tell you, to answer your question, and first of all, before I answer your question, let me give a shout out to your pastor, Devereaux Hubbard, because I think he is a great pastor, a great young pastor, educated, humble, eloquent, and just a good pastor. There are a lot of pastors who are
And I thank you for saying that, Pastor Hubbard. You heard it here. And we also want to give a shout out to your pastor, because I know him personally.
Absolutely. And yeah, my pastor, see, Pastor Brown has the advantage of having me as his assistant pastor because I was well trained to be an assistant pastor. I don't have that great ambition. So even in a setting where it's usually just me and him, I still refer to him as pastor.
Yeah.
Now, Pastor Brown is also one of my closest friends. 3 months ago, he became my brother-in-law when I married his sister.
Yes.
So, but
I don't know if everybody knows, he's off the market now. He's married now, ladies. He's married, so he's very happily married.
yeah, I am very happy. God sure blessed me, in the third quarter of life. But anyway, Pastor Brown, to me, even when it's just me and him, he's still pastor because I don't want to change that line.
Right.
He's my pastor. I know that he doesn't have a problem with me calling him Chuck, especially when it's just me and him talking. But to me, when we're together, he's pastor. Now, Pastor Brown is, again, one of my closest friends, my brother-in-law, just a dear friend. But when we're together, even in private, it's Pastor Brown.
Right. And it was a good conversation that they had on the radio because they were like, when you see people who are bishops or reverends or pastors or what have you, what do you call them when you see them outside the church? What do you call them when you're in the church?
Hmm.
And I'm like, me, you always go with the respectful way, the traditional
Exactly.
way.
I get a kick out of every Sunday when somebody walks up to talk to me and say, "Hey, Barry, Assistant Pastor Robinson." They always, because a lot of them knew Barry
Right, right.
before there was a Reverend Robinson or Assistant Pastor Robinson. They still remember us from the old Big John's barbecue days.
Right, right.
For those of you who may not know out there, my father was Big John Robinson, who had Big John's barbecue for 43 years.
And tasty too, at
Oh,
that.
yeah. He was the Small Businessman of the Year in the state of Illinois in the 70s, and Peoria's first self-made black millionaire. Consequently, many people knew me as Barry long before there was ever a Reverend Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
There was Barry Robinson. So a lot of folks still walk up and then they catch themselves and they say, "Barry, Assistant Pastor Robinson. Can I have a word with you?" I always get a kick out of that.
And I think it's neat because your friends that you grew up with, they sometimes don't know what to actually say, and you catch them off guard, and just to see their faces
Mm-hmm.
on what to call you. Now, me, I don't know what to call you half the time because you're on so many different committees. I call you chairperson.
Yeah, there you go. That's one of the titles that we forgot to mention.
Yes,
You and I both
explain.
serve on a Peoria City Commission
Yes.
called the Fair Employment and Housing Commission. And you and I both have titles there. I'm the chairman and you're the vice chairman.
Yes, sir.
So, and that is a commission that is put together so people will know that there's someone looking out for their best interest, that people who are doing contracts with the city are playing on a fair playing field and taking care of the protected classes, making sure that they're getting jobs on a fair ratio. We also present a forum where if someone feels as though they've been discriminated against with regard to housing or employment, they can come in front of our commission and speak to the violation that they perceived is a violation.
Right.
And we're proud to serve on that city commission, and I've been on it now for 2.5 years, and it's been a blessing, and I think that we have made quite a difference on that commission.
I think so.
I'm
I
also
think so.
proud of having you serve with me because you're like my right hand, and I appreciate you and I admire you.
Well, I thank you. I really do. I love being on the committee, on the commission, and we have a lot of work to do, and I'm sure we'll get it done, especially under your leadership. So
Well, thank you so much.
Definitely.
I appreciate that. There's another one of those titles.
I think we have more titles than you care for.
The funny part is, though, again, let me just reiterate, I think I had my 15 minutes of fame way back in the 70s. I really don't need to relive it. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy helping this community. I have a great passion and heart for this community, and I want to see it become what it could be.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some really big challenges lately. We know that Caterpillar is moving their world headquarters out of here
Right.
and to Chicago. And I have never known a time in my entire life where we haven't been associated with Caterpillar as their world headquarters.
That's true. That's
So
what Peoria is known
it was
for.
a devastating kick in the gut. But we've got to pick ourselves up and move on.
Yeah, because there's other businesses around here.
Well,
Small businesses,
we have to remember-
hospitals, healthcare.
Yeah, remember
I mean,
that Caterpillar is still going to have 12,000 jobs.
Right.
They're only moving 300 of the top people and their secretaries or whatever to Chicago, and they're just going to move the world headquarters up there. We'll still have a great association with Caterpillar, and I've heard that they still want to continue their philanthropic ways in our community. So that's the good news. The bad news is they were planning on doing a huge massive development downtown that would have been the largest private investment ever in the history of the city of Peoria. And that now is just simply not going to happen. So we have to pull up our pants economically now and just figure out how we're going to keep moving forward.
Be a little bit more creative. And
Exactly.
speaking of that, the when you're tomorrow, by the time this airs, we'll already have voted, but the primary for the mayoral and is coming up, and for township supervisor.
Yes.
Those are kind of key right now in the city of Peoria. But what do you feel is what would make our community self-sufficient? We need to find out ways of getting people to look for ways, I guess, to be more of a self-sufficient community.
Well, you know what? We need a lot of things, but no one public official is going to be able to change the entire course of a city by himself. I think the ideal public servant would be one who can mobilize individuals to make a movement occur.
Right.
Okay? If you sit behind a desk and think that you can change the orientation of a city or even the orientation of a mind, you've got another thing coming. I think the most efficient public servant is one who can mobilize individuals and get them behind a particular initiative until it gets done.
Now, let me ask your opinion now. You've seen all the different movements going on since Trump has been in office.
Are you kidding me? Did he actually win that election? I thought I was still dreaming, and I'm looking forward to waking up soon.
No, he is in there, and he's been in there less than 30 days. But there is a movement of different organizations, more than I've ever seen. People starting up a lot of what I call movement for causes. And that hasn't been the case before in any other presidency that I know of.
I've never seen any other presidency like this.
No, it's been very different. The climate is different.
He's completely rewriting the book of presidential politics. It's completely, I don't know if you saw, I guess it was day before yesterday, no, last Friday I think it was, where he determined that if he was going to get pushback and flack from certain news agencies, they would not be allowed to come to the daily briefing.
Well, he did cut back and set back some. They didn't, and it's not right to dictate
Well,
news
you just said
on
the
a
magic
First
word right there. If you stop free speech and the media from doing their job, that's the first step to dictatorship.
Yeah.
So this is
free
a
speech
scary
is gone.
time for all of us right now. But you know what? I'm not going to concern myself so much about who's in the White House
I don't.
because I know that my God is still
you.
on the throne.
Thank you. And that's the way we're going to end it right there for just a second so that we can go into our next segment. First, I want to let people know, if you would like to follow us on Stage 729, please follow us at Twitter and Instagram, and also follow us on Facebook. We look forward to having more programming coming up in the future to talk to more community leaders and to people in the community. So we're going to wrap it up with a speed round with Pastor Barry Robinson. Okay, this is the fun part for you, so get ready because you got to give me your response on all these little different things that are trending right now. We already talked about Donald Trump, and you and I kind of talked about a couple of minutes ago about what happened last night at the Grammys. I have to bring this up about the wrong envelope.
Wow. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Now, wait a minute, though. Didn't Steve Harvey have something like that happen to him?
Yes, he did. With the Miss America.
Yeah, they gave him the wrong, or he said the wrong name or
Yes.
something like that.
Yeah.
That has to be, that's beyond embarrassment.
You know what? And I felt really bad, but being that this is Black History Month, I was glad to see. I love La La Land, so don't get me wrong. I love the movie, but I was glad to see that the movie that Moonlight that won actually was Best Picture. I thought that was awesome.
I haven't had the opportunity to see it yet. I'm going to try and go this weekend. Take my lovely wife out for date night and go see that movie.
I like that in you. Well, we're going to go ahead and thank you for stopping by the stage on stage 729. This has been your host, Michelle Sanders. We thank you for following us and watching us. Any last words of encouragement before we sign off?
Yeah, let me just say to all of you who live in Peoria, Illinois, this is not the worst place for African Americans to live. We are proud. We are Peoria. We're going to fix what's broken. We have significant issues, but we have hard charging people who are passionate and bright, and we're going to work this out. God bless.
You heard it from Pastor Barry Robinson. Thank you, and toodles.